Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cosmic Conversations. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, and you are watching us on the Conscious Awakening Network. Now, before we get started, and even before I introduce our co host for the month, I want to share something with you guys that I cannot wait for you to see. And I'm going to have to share screen, so just a moment. And here we go. All right, so we have our countdown, 4 days to go until we have the Star Code Activation Conference. And we have some absolute phenomenal speakers. I'm going to take it back to the Conscious Awakening Network. I'm going to hit the library, and you can go down and see all of the events that we have coming up. This is the event that I was referring to, the conscious or the Star Code activation this weekend. It will start at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Check it out. It's only $44 for the 2 days. We have 12 phenomenal speakers, so do not fail to check that out. We also have Kimberly coming up again, Messages from Heaven. Kimberly Meredith will be with us on January the 16th and the 30th on a Friday afternoon from 1 to 3 Pacific time. And that, of course, will be 2 to 4 Mountain time. So please be sure to check that out. And then we have another event that I am super stoked to share with you. I can't really see the images very good here for some reason, but this is the Universal Consciousness Conference, and we're going to talk a little bit about that this afternoon. We have speakers that are going to be there here, so we can just share all kinds of phenomenal information with you, and we are super, super excited that we have that opportunity to do so. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I want to get out of that. There we go. Perfect. So now I want to share with you guys my super special host for the month. We have Shanna Tipton, and Shanna is one of our newest hosts on the Conscious Awakening Network. If you've been following our website progression, you can see that we are making more and more strides every day to get more of these videos uploaded. As you know, we lost all of our videos, all of the information. We had to go back, pull it over, start from scratch. So thank you guys so much for your patience and for all your kind words of support. I really do appreciate that. But I want to tell you just a little bit about Shanna, because she has been a medium since childhood. She's been connecting with spirits through visions and through her physical senses. Now, at age 15, she had her first psychic vision and later encountered angels, grounding her empathetic and her physical mediumship abilities through meditation. Now, following a path of spiritual enlightenment, she evolved into a multidimensional medium, which I hope you'll tell us a little bit about, transmuting energy, activating wisdom, accelerating ascension, and facilitating healing. She channels light beings such as the angels, ascended masters, the star families, dragons, fairies, unicorns, and the Lemurians. So she also hosts holistic fairs, women's retreats, and a podcast. And she's mentoring others to awaken and to embrace their authentic soul selves. And she will be introducing our guest tonight, Peter Hansen, a psychic, angelic channeler. So I can't wait. So, Shanna, thank you so much for being here with me this month. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about being a co-host with you and being able to introduce all these phenomenal speakers we're going to have for the Universal Consciousness Conference. And I know all of them personally pretty much. I mean, you and I have begun to get to know one another because you're going to be a part of it. And there's only one person I actually haven't met, but she's a good friend of yours. So Barbara Lamb was one of those. But Peter and I, we've met some time ago. I believe it was maybe 2018, and he was one of my vendors, and that's how we got to know one another. And I really, really felt a awesome connection with Peter, and you can just really feel the beautiful energy that comes through to him whenever he does readings or just being in his presence. And it's just really phenomenal. So I'm excited to be a co-host with you and going through all these awesome speakers. But tonight we have Peter.
Well, that is fantastic. So, Peter, you want to come on up and tell us a little bit more about yourself? We just kind of do this freestyle. We just have a great conversation among friends, and I am excited to get to know you better.
Well, thank you for having me on your Cosmic Connections. I can see it behind you.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be on your platform. It's beautiful. And I love that approach. I love the organicness. I love just go with the flow, whatever's coming through. I live channel all the time because that's what's, in the field, that's what really needs to come in. And I learned that touches the most people and connect with what's going on at the moment, what people are struggling with and need guidance with. And like Shanna was mentioning, we've known each other for many years, and she really built up a great following, and she is branching out and doing all these exciting things, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. The events, the conferences, and so forth, and all the shows. I mean, if anyone is listening, never been to one of them, you should absolutely go out there because she just bring together the most amazing crowd and talent pool of all kinds of gifted healers and psychics and mediumship and above, very well rounded. It's really wonderful. And you and your family, Shanna, like your husband and your daughter sometimes is out there, like it's just really a family event, and everybody is so well organized. I really like that about your show. Is like it's big, but it's
Yeah.
just there's just a familiar family feeling to it. You know what I mean? Like holding hands, standing in a big circle. Preparing for the day,
Right.
all working together. Is like that's something you don't see too often.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's such kind words. I appreciate that so much.
Well, that's my experience, and of course I share my way, and through this platform and shows, and I don't do so many shows anymore, but
Right.
that doesn't mean that we don't connect, we don't, share, and we work in different maybe parts of the country or the world, but we work
Right.
on the same goal, all of us, you know what I mean? We are light workers raising the vibration, the frequency, and assisting everybody in ascending through our personal work. You know what I mean? It's, of course we're
Right.
assisting others as well, but our inner work, how we, honor and respect our journey and our mission and our purpose really affects the collective because we're also the collective, right? So as we start to work with those energies, then it's like you see shift and there's infinite versions of Earth, infinite versions of people, of connections, of relationships, so forth, So learning to navigate that is like, it's just magical and so much
Right.
fun.
Yeah.
So now, Peter, how did you get started?
Long story. Of course, when I was a child, I had a lot of experience, but I didn't have any presence. I didn't have any mentorship. I didn't have any guides to guide me at that time. So I felt very much on my own in my spiritual world, and I had a lot of, experiences and connections, and behind the veil as well. But at the time, I didn't understand what it meant. That all made sense further on in life. And I had a near-death experience when I was almost 20. I was in a coma for 10 days after a car accident, and I came back in, and I went to the other side and had the elevator experience, and that really, really opened up, and it was like a death and a rebirth I went through at that time that really, I uprooted my home and my life in Denmark, where I'm from, and then moved to California. And then I started a new life, and I've been here for 30 years or something now, close to 30 years. So that was like the major, breaking point. And then I moved here, and then I had to kind of start all over, meaning create a new foundation, a new family, all of that, connecting with the grid lines here and my past life energies here to, selves and so forth. And that really, when after a number of years here, that really kind of became my passion again. And then I like did everything I could to, seek knowledge. I was taking classes at the psychic institutes and other mentorships and so forth, before I eventually start doing it for a living myself. And that's been probably close to 10 years soon. I've been doing that, you know what I mean? Doing a lot of shows, a lot of traveling for years, reaching a lot of people, building a big clientele, so to speak, and then doing more podcasts and workshops and continuously to this day, and it'll never stop. I, I walk the talk. I live this every day. This is my purpose. You know what I mean? That is when I
Yeah.
get up in the morning, I meditate. I set my vibration for the day, and I start over basically every day. Of course, there's a lot of this is my life, but
Mhm.
I'm still hands-on in that sense, and the same at night. I meditate before I go to bed just to bring myself into the best vibration going into
Mm.
the dream state, and as you both know that, like this is a lifestyle, like
Right.
this is
We
it,
live it, right? We
Yes.
don't just teach it, we don't just show people things and tell them our experiences, but we literally, live, eat, breathe everything that we're putting out to everyone and trying to help them along their paths. And I love that Peter is so much like that, like myself and all of us in that respect that, like you said, you walk the talk, you talk the walk, you
Right.
know.
It's the non-negotiables in life.
Right.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And you've
Great.
really just kind of expanded and started doing mentoring and stuff too, right?
I've been doing that for, oh boy, probably 6, 7 years now.
Oh, wow. Okay. I
Um,
don't think I realized you'd been doing it for that long.
I done it for a long time actually, and that's like my bread and butter, because that's consistently, working with people and really see them how they transform and grow, exponentially, like over a short period of time till our work is done or continues. Sometimes it continues for years. As people I work with for years, it
Hmm.
really depends on how willing and open people are to, do the inner work, right? And we are way
Right.
showers, like you mentioned, like we attract situations, whatever we're dealing with or what we're picking up in the field, we manifest or magnets to experiences that highlights that, so we get the insight we can then share. That's another way of the hands-on, right? It's like
Right.
it's just instant, you know what I mean? It's like, sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it, you know what I mean? So
Exactly.
I'm so fluent, and it's just instant manifestation, you know what I mean? And when we look at it and we live that way, then we know there's a purpose and it's benefiting us. So it's really like looking for the wisdom, looking for the gold nuggets, in everything. And because it's there, they're there, we just have to look for them, pan out, see a bigger perspective, shift perspective, collapse if it's not serving the whole, like that comes with
Mhm.
that responsibility as well. But it's really it's very gratifying, it's a beautiful way of living, you're really alive because you're so emotionally, the heart is open, we feel everything. We feel the planet, we feel the stars, we feel the portals, we feel the moon, the sun,
Right.
nature, the collective, anything. It's like it's really like we need to have our boundaries, we need to have nurture ourselves on a daily basis. And I know you guys already know this, but it's like maybe I hope that provides a little bit of insight. It's like it's not just walk in the park. It's a commitment,
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Now, when you first started channeling, how did that occur for you?
Well, the answer to that is I've been channeling my whole life, but I wasn't consciously, channeling. So how does that occur? Looking back, I could see that there was divine in the action going on. There was in the interventions coming on. There was messages coming in. And that point in my human journey, it felt like it was coming from the outside before I reached this state where I'm, you know, merging so much with my higher self into that unified field of consciousness that it's not separate from me any longer, right? So then we start walking in the dream, so to speak. We channel, we manifest all the time. So I really can't give you a specific date or situation because it's like I have glimpses of in my childhood, like really young childhood, where, angelic presence was stepping in and taking care of me, protecting me, making sure nothing happened to me. I experienced that many times throughout the years, like, and I've been around what we could think of or talk about as dense energies that could be challenging, in the wrong place at the wrong time, or kind of thing, you know what I mean? But it wasn't. It's more like I I had no fear, I think, really when I was young, but then I was taking on, of course, the collective consciousness fears, and the schooling of, ancestral and the school systems and societal, all of that. And that kind of, it shut me down for a while. But there was still then breakthroughs, and especially with my near-death experience, that was a big one because I was in a different realm for 10 days. I came back in, I was feeling like
Wow.
1000%. I felt like, this is heaven on earth. But then I was coming back into my human reality, and then everybody was feeling sorry for me, and my body was struggling a little bit with catching up and healing and all that stuff. So then I took on that victim mentality, right?
Mhm.
I was not 100%, you know what I mean? And when you start believing that, then that's your reality, because that's what we create, right? So but that gave me a big breakthrough in itself, because my mentality, my inner guidance shifted. It shifted from the mind into the heart. I had to close some doors, and make room for new ones to open. And that shifting countries and continents, was a big energetic shift, and really allowed me to disconnect from my ancestral line. So I didn't, it was like this is not the only time, I had many lifetime within one lifetime, if that makes sense, right? So
Mhm.
it's like I live a life in Denmark, then I moved to the United States, I live a lifetime in California, then I was in Texas for 5 years, and now I'm back in California, and like it's like almost different lives, you know what I mean? Because I'm reinventing myself. There's a death and a rebirth, all of that going through a growth spurt, right? At different phases of my consciousness, of my awakening, of my ascension. Uh, and then I'm not identifying with any of it as this is final or this is fixed, you know what I mean? So then I can tap into it, I can pull from it, but I'm not weighed down by it, you know what I mean? So that really just expanded my point of view and the way I can get myself back on track, because we will still be triggered, because it will show us whatever needs either internally or externally be cleared or highlighted, or
I'm
worked
really
on.
curious about the 10 days. Excuse me. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you could share a little bit more about that, that's pretty phenomenal.
I was in a car accident. I was at work. I was a pastry chef in Denmark, a baker and pastry chef. And last thing before going home in the afternoon, I had to bring out, cakes to a store that was selling our products, right? So I was driving the company van. I didn't have my seatbelt on, and I fell asleep behind the wheel. Some people thought it was a bee or something. It could have been that too. Um, but I was out in the country. It was like a mile from my parents' house. And it was right next to a church with a cemetery, and it was beautiful countryside. And there was a big curve, and I went off the road, and the van just rolled, and I flew out through the windshield, landed on the road, and I cracked a big hole in my skull. Like, I saw the police pictures afterward. There's a piece of my skull missing with hair on it, and luckily, my driving instructor from when I got my driver license a couple of years prior to that, he witnessed it. He saw that he was there with a student, so he
Mhm.
called it in, and they were there in like 10 minutes, the paramedics, and then went to one hospital and then to another hospital, and it was it was it felt like it was exit point obviously, but I was not meant to take it, but it was a life change. I had to get rerouted. It was like I was done with that experience. I kind of learned what I was supposed to learn there. That's how it felt to me. So then I went into the coma for 10 days. And I had the elevator, like you're asking about the being in the coma, I had the elevator experience, which is I had two guys. It felt like I was on a gurney in an elevator, and they were taking me up. And at first, when I woke up after, the trauma and as became conscious, I thought, oh, that was just the guys in the hospital. It was actually not till years later when I channeled it, and I also connected with other near-death experiencers, and they had the same experience. And I was like, whoa, that's exactly what I had. because the elevator went up and it stopped and it opened up. And it was what you could consider heaven or the transition point, the portal. And it was not my time to go. So it closed again. I feel like I did go in and then came back out, and then it just, but it was very briefly, and then went down. And these two angels that was with me, which I at first, you know, my brain at the time processed it as, you know, hospital workers, you know, taking me up, you know.
Mhm.
But later on, I learned, of course, there was angelic presences, you know, and masters and guides taking me up, you know, and it was not my time to go, so I came back down. I had a choice: do you want to continue, or do you want to come back down and you know, go in a different direction, move to a different country, so forth, you know, and all that makes sense to me now, but at the time it didn't.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of things happening during those 10 days, you know, that is still to this day, I guess, in essence, being revealed. But really what it comes down to is that I reconnected with the core essence of my soul, right? My divine blueprint.
Mhm.
Uh, and there was divine harmony, and I was supposed to run like a 16K the following weekend. And my mind, my consciousness, my life force energy was like, oh, that's not a problem at all. But my body obviously wasn't ready for that. But my energy when I came in, I was so happy. I was so energetic, you know, at first. It was not till I kind of connected with how other people felt about the fact that I almost died, right?
Right.
Um,
Then then you kind of took on their emotions, I imagine, and it kind of switched
yes.
that perspective over to the way they felt, and then you had a healing process, I'm sure, that you went through with that. And I know that you used to really kind of focus on Archangel Gabriel. Is that when you made that connection with Archangel Gabriel, was during that coma time?
It was because there was a lot of significance to me going to California on the West Coast, Gabriel and the ocean and the grid line and so forth, you know, and also being the messenger. And that I learned that later on, the significance to the connection with Gabriel, you know, and also with Jeshua and Sir
Mhm.
Lancelot, aspects of me that was dormant, you know, that was being reactivated. And we all, many of us hold these strands of DNA, right? So that was absolutely a part of that, reconnecting with that. And first and foremost, it was Gabriel that guided me in a safe, and it was the frequency and the vibration that resonated so much with my soul. That's also how we connect, right? Because it's such a
Right.
beautiful, you know, you know, expanded frequency and vibration and loving vibration. You know, it's like so golden and neutral and just holds so much power, right?
Right.
But not from the mind, it's from the heart space, you know, the unity consciousness just working through us, you know. And we've done this before, and that's what it comes down to for me. Like then it becomes easier and easier when you reconnect and reactivate those strands of DNA and those memories within, you know.
Right.
So I did that, and then my priorities have obviously shifted, you know what I mean? How I made my decisions, and over time, as I became more and more and more and more conscious and living
Aware.
and aware,
Yeah.
right, and awake,
Yeah.
then I allowed that to guide me, and then allow my heart to guide me at all times, you know. So reconfiguring, you know, how you love, how you share, how you, you know, show gratitude, all of that, you know, I mean, how you process anything, basically, you know what I mean? Um, we have to go through those awakening experiences, you know, to fully anchor it, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I can see many times I've been on the accelerated path, you know, like when there was something new I had to learn, it happened kind of briefly, you know, and fast. Um,
Right.
and that also connects, in my opinion, to that it's not the first rodeo, right? It's not the first time that happening, you know. So it's,
Hmm.
and I'm sure you guys can attest to that too, is like following that inner guidance, you know, then we know it's right, even though we can't fully understand it yet, right? Stepping into the unknown. But we
Hmm.
have that inner, the divine blueprint that's guiding us in the right direction, you know, the faith, the trust, really coming down to that, you know, and the eternal love and appreciation for everyone, you know, like because this is our universe, right? So we're not passengers, we are active participants, you know what I mean? We are creators.
Right. Right. We're active creators in this universe, right? And
Yeah,
co-creators. Yeah.
right, right. But
Right.
you can, you know, look at that differently too. Like you or me, I'm you, and Same as Sheila,
Right.
like this, that really, when we start seeing everything that way, then there's no separation, right? Then there's nothing to hold back any longer, right?
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Because, you know, we all are affecting that collective consciousness every minute of every day because we are all connected and we are all one. And
Yeah.
so, as you raise your vibration, and I raise mine, and Shanna raises hers, and everyone else raises theirs, we've got this resonance frequency that's happening out there in a collective to really remind us. And I just did an exercise with one of the groups of women that I work with and had them to imagine being connected by a golden strand of light. And this golden strand, of course, connected to everyone and to everything. And if you picked up that strand and you released it, it would send that vibration out. And even without us thinking, we don't know how far that vibration will go. We don't know who that will impact. And so it's so exciting to hear when people are waking up and really dropping into the essence of who they are at a soul level. I find it exciting because that means that we're raising that vibration. And of course, I'm all about raising the vibration. I'm all about, you know, helping to anchor in all these new frequencies so we can get this ascension rocking and rolling here.
Right. And you're right. It's exciting whenever you help people to make that connection and understand and begin to expand and feel that. You can see the light. Not that you couldn't see the light within them before, but it's like bing, 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 and they go, "Oh, I get it. I can feel it. I can see it." It's really it's awesome whenever you can see that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would imagine that when you came out of the coma, that you really began to affect everyone around you. Everything began to shift. Everything began to change. And you would carry those memories with you, but over time, you would also have this unfoldment that occurs. And I know even with me having walked in like 20 some years ago, is every now and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, how could I have forgotten that? And all this information will come flooding back in. I'm wondering from your perspective, was there anything that really rocked your world? Anything that recalled that literally you were headed in this direction and it shifted you?
Prior to the coma or just in
No,
general?
after.
After,
After.
okay.
And even to today.
Obviously, again, like when we're on the awakening journey, right? It's like we're stepping in and out of consciousness, right, between the human and the soul, right? So there's been many awakenings along the way. I feel, like I mentioned earlier, is that so there's been not just one of those big aha moments, I would say, where you really like become crystal clear. And sometimes it's not all logical, right? I mean, a lot of times it's not logical at all, but we translate it into that, right? So use we channel it. So mostly it's big downloads where you can feel there's a physical shift happening in my body, where things are operating differently, where especially with the sense and symptoms as well, is like there could be for years where you have rashes or heat or headaches or a sense and symptoms that acts a certain way, right? And then when we clear that, then that usually goes away, and then something else might come up, and then we deal with that for a while till that's done, like. So each time that happens is like because your body become your not just your voice, but it also becomes your sensor and your eyes, right? So you don't feel just with what you touch with this one finger, you feel with the entire body, and you hear with the entire body, you see with the entire body, and your entire unified field of consciousness and all bodies together, right? So navigating through that, then I experience, the atmospheric shifts, like all of that, you know, even prior to it happening, because it's in the quantum field in the nonlinear, right? So we assist with that collective ascension and awakening, as that's happening. Uh, if that helps, like, so the vibrational aspect of it is the biggest, I know, denominator, I think, that I notice, like how as energetic beings, and frequency holders, and grid holders, grid keepers, how important is not the rational mind, is not, what I mean? We don't navigate it that way or decide that way any longer. It's like it's through the heart. And that just changes everything, because then it's like it's off planet, so to speak. It's like it's a different everything, right? It's so much
Literally.
bigger than the
Yeah.
individual, right?
I imagine there's been many times, even, after you had the coma though, and you had your awakening, and all of a sudden you made this switch to move from Denmark to the United States. And I'm sure even today you look back and you see some of, because I know I do the same thing. I have these pivotal moments that have happened, and you don't understand the reason why you do say, or, but you know that you have to do these things. And then you look back and you go, oh, now I get it, because I'm in this space, in this time, on this timeline now. That's why I had to do X, Y, and Z. So are there any other, like you moved to the United States, since then, have there been those pivotal moments like that you look back and you went, oh, okay, now I get it? That was another, moment, maybe moving from Texas or from Oklahoma to Texas, and back to California. Um,
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of answers to that one, because there's many elements to it. It's like I
right,
felt drawn to go back to California because while I was gone, I felt I had to be there. So it's like you anger, and I do believe that anywhere I go, that's where I'm supposed to be, right? All of
right.
us grid keepers, So I felt when I moved back here, of course, I wanted to spend time with my daughter because she's going off to college soon, next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually this year, later in the year. So I didn't want to miss that. That was the main attracting, like I really didn't want to miss that. I missed it so much, and I was traveling here every month, back and forth. But I also felt like California was ready for me. Prior
Mm-hmm.
to that, I didn't feel like it was ready.
I get that. Yeah, I get that with hosting the fairs and stuff. I'll have people that are like, why don't you come here? And I'm like, y'all aren't ready for that.
And I
Because
got
like
that
you said,
message
you're
strong.
you're anchoring in the energy and everything. I know with the fairs and stuff, my guides have shown me how we're clearing the grid lines whenever we're heading there, all of us. And then whenever we're there in that space, it's not just the building, but it's many miles that it clears the energy, and we're raising the vibration and the ascension of others, even whether they're aware of it or not. So I get that. It was time for you to be, they were ready for you. I like the way you put that.
Well,
They were
it's
ready
like,
for you to be back.
well, it comes with responsibility too, being a light worker, right? So then we have to go where
Right,
we want it, right? So if we're not wanted, I know that sounds harsh, but it's like then we need to then go where we are wanted, right? Where we are being
right.
the most helpful and most of assistance, right? And that was the
Exactly.
guidance coming through that now I had to be here, and that can change, and it probably will, you know what I mean? So that's
Mm-hmm.
a continual, like, and also like just traveling. I've been to many, many countries around the world, and I love to travel, and every time I do, there's always activations happening,
Mm-hmm.
being in foreign country, waking up in the morning, the phone rings, and you normally don't speak that language, but then one of a sudden, I had that experience in Mexico City, like I picked up the phone, I was in a hotel where they didn't speak English, and I spoke fluent, till I then kind of woke up. I was like, what the heck just happened there? Stuff like that. And then France done the same thing. I mean, I did have school, France in school for a year, but still, it's like that's so many years ago, right? So there's connecting into other languages, but also like in vibrations and frequencies. That knowledge is in there somewhere. If that language exists, it was created through you because you're part of Source. So tapping in, you know what I mean, and being in the unified field of consciousness, which is beautiful, is like we can connect with all these different versions of ourselves, you know what I mean, that lives across the world, and then we can tap into those countries, those languages, or
Mhm.
locations, and remembering that we've been there before. We might actually build whatever we're watching, live there, and now in
Right.
some sense we have, because everything that we experience in our simulation, so to speak, it wouldn't be there unless we created it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, because you're doing channeling on a regular basis, are you receiving messages that are kind of surprising to you?
Can you define that? Oh, say that in the yeah, but they are, when you say surprising, I feel like they're very beautiful, very deep, and they're very timed, and I'm just an open channel, right? So I don't judge them, I don't measure them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel the aspect of time is not existing. I forget what day it is all the time because I'm like, you know what I mean? I couldn't even tell you what day it is today, honestly, at this moment. So when you live in that space, it's just like whatever I'm supposed to share. And I actually been doing that a lot lately, a lot more lately than I did before. Because I always, when I go hike like once or twice, or maybe 3 times a week in the mountains here in Santa Monica, and I usually record on my phone the stuff coming through. Like at first I hike and clear anything I need to clear, all the energies, and then there's all this channeling coming through. And it's always regarding something, right?
Mhm.
So in the past, I more used it for myself. Now I'm sharing it even more so than I did post about it before. But now I'm like, I kind of stepped that up and I'm doing it much more than I used to before. So these messages coming through, of course, become more detailed maybe, or not that they weren't detailed before, but this is actually funny. I had a conversation with somebody the other day too about when I go in, after I write down these messages from the recording, I go in and I edit it. And there's a lot of raw material, right? A lot of raw messages, right? The editing process, I can feel the consciousness, I can feel the team is assisting me with that. Archangels, guardian angels, ascended masters. So there's a production team or editorial team assisting me in, you know what I mean, in ways I didn't connect with it before lately.
Okay.
Right. You mean your team on the other side? Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
and it's like
yeah. Well,
I
I kind of do that with mine. I don't know if you do this, but I'll be like, okay, I need my tech team. Like before we got on here, it's like, I need the ones that want to cause mischief to stay away, and my tech team to be here to make sure everything's smooth. So I get what you're saying.
it helps me really make this raw material into something much more fluent and constructive and sounds better
Mhm.
than I would have written it before, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah,
So there's some expert help coming in,
exactly.
Now, do you have any messages for us tonight? Anything you'd like to share?
I can tune in. Is there any questions or just whatever comes through?
How about whatever comes through? That would be amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Can I ask you guys, both of you, for your permission to energy melt and connect with your higher selves?
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Thank you. I'm just going to bring in the Legion of Angels. I'm asking them to remove any wandering spirits, anything that's not a delight from our energy field from this gathering tonight, from all timelines, all parallel realities, and all dimensions. Is clearing the space and slowly and gently energy melting with this collective field of consciousness, and bringing in the Archangel Gabriel, but also the remaining, all the other archangels, because this is some people not aware of, they are all connected and all one, and depending how high we go, right? So I'm just tuning in. Let's see what's coming through here. So first, what I'm hearing is fire. So there's a big fire energy going on right now, and we associate fire as something dangerous usually, but this is the flame of purification, right? Like the violet flame, um, and the white diamond light flames as well. I see coming in very strongly. So there's not like it's a big period of purification necessarily, but there is almost like the room has been cleared. That's what they're showing me. The template has been cleared, and the debris has been moved out, but there's still dust, and there's still like if you look at a barn, let's say, and there's the straw and the hay from last year, like before we bring in the new harvest, then we clear out, we swipe it out, right? And if it's not a wooden place, then you could actually use fire to just disinfect it, and make it ready for the next, because there's a lot of powers within the flame, right, and the fire energy for death and rebirth, and clearing the old. So that's kind of what they're showing me here. Like we are in that pivotal moment where that's happening. Of course, we are at the final stages. We are in the 9th year, like which is mastery. It's beautiful. It's mastery graduation. We can call it that, but really, it's a big junction. It's a big ascension jump, quantum field jump that we have been preparing for individually, but it's coming into, we're all gathering now in the barn, so to speak. You know what I mean? Almost like a Noah's Ark-ish, because it's really like we are leaving one version of Earth, stepping into another version of Earth, a different consciousness, a different dimensional everything. And some of us are the forerunners for that. We are guiding others, but not only are we guiding others, we're doing it through our own work, right? So that's also that inner fire we're tapping into. There's many ways of looking at this fire, not just using it externally, but is that we learn to tap in to that life force energy, the kundalini, the soul divine blueprint from the quantum field, allowing the creator source codes to work through us. So that's also what we were now, and that's a firing, just like a nuclear bomb, you can say. Like, it's so powerful when we fully learn to honor and merge these frequency and vibrations and divine masculine, divine feminine together, and feed all that up our spine, up, like the serpent, up to the Holy Grail, and then fully manifest heaven on earth, so to speak. So that fire is rising up now. It's like it's you can say, like, it's wildfire. It can move really fast for some. For others, it might burn a little slower, but it's like it's not going to stop. It can't go down again, because whatever was fueling it before is kind of being burned off. So it's like it can only go up, if that makes sense. So that's the picture they're telling me. And of course, that can be translated and it could be, beautified, in so many ways. But if we look at it as that, then that's the hope with this message, is that don't look back, because there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to catch up on. There's nothing to go back to, because we are leaving that behind. And that the fire is also signifying that, the cleansing, the clearing of the old, allowing all of us, all that needs to come with us, to come through and step through and manifest, and being embodied. This is really what it comes down to, embodying that divine essence. And when we connect through the heart, and this is important as well, then we come into the unified field of consciousness, and that is when we come into unity. So then we are not alone any longer, right? Like before, we felt like we were on our own journey, but now, because the mind was, running the show, so now we're coming into the heart space much more on a collective basis. Then it become the unified heart, the golden heart experience, where we start feeling each other and we connect and magnetize and operate as one much more, so that's what's happening. And I know you can. I think you're probably doing it right now as we speak too. You can just feel how that heartbeat, like I can feel your heartbeat, I can feel my own heartbeat, but because it's synchronizing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I hope that was helpful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. I definitely could feel the heartbeat. Yeah,
Yeah.
It makes you feel alive, doesn't it?
it does. It does. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So Shanna, I
Yeah.
know that all of us are going to be at the conference. I'm wondering, can you
Right.
talk a little bit more about the conference and what people can expect? Because I don't know. about you guys out there watching this, but I just had this phenomenal experience. So there's going to be a lot of phenomenal experiences happening.
Right, there really is. I'm so excited to be doing this because, as you said, I've been doing the holistic fairs and everything. So, this is my first conference, and we're doing it live and online, which I'm super excited about doing because, well, it just makes it available to everybody. It doesn't matter where you're at, right? But I mean, we have so many people that we're going to have, such as Peter. We're going to have Bill Homan, who has the ancient Mitchell Hedges skull. He's going to be doing a private meditation with everybody. I mean, how cool is that? So not only is he going to talk about that stuff, but about, how they found it, what kind of energy it has, what it does for people whenever they're in its presence and all that kind of stuff. But to be able to take you through a meditation, it's super cool. His partner, Catherine Lanigan, is going to be speaking. She's an international author, and she has been connecting with the angels since she was a little girl. Her dad actually had a near-death experience where he left and came back, and they told him to tell her that she had to write about her experiences, which is super cool. So she did and wrote about other people's experiences. So she's going to be doing some angel messages. We have Barbara Lamb, who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, but you know her, and she is a expert in ufology, the crop circles. I think you two wrote a book together, right? She's going to be talking about cosmic convergence and talking about the walk-ins, hybrids, and all of that. Let's see here. Oh, we have Patricia Walls. I absolutely love her. We have been friends for a long time as well, and she is the inventor of Hall of Records, which is beyond the Akashic Records. So if you've heard of the Akashic Records, this takes you beyond that. Very cool, and she has a book out about it. She's an author of many different books. She's also a light language facilitator and everything, so super cool. I'm going to have Ken Lloyd on, who has 22 walk-in souls. That's a lot, right? And he's helping people on their ascension journey and helping them along with their healing. He's doing some really phenomenal things. And then we have Sheila, who is a expert on walk-ins and hybrids and does all these phenomenal things along with this podcast and everything else. And then I'll be talking too, and I'm going to be talking about light language and what my experience was and how that came around for me and how it's really grown and evolved, especially over the last couple of years. And I'm going to do an activation for everyone too at the end of it. So everybody's going to get a little bit of a chance, since it's live, to be able to ask questions. So Peter's going to be talking about life force energy illumination. Do you want to kind of let people know what that's going to be about?
Right. It's like the energy we are transmitting, and then how to tap into that, also how through our eyes, like when you are really on fire, really, really embodied, like that is the eyes to the soul, right? Or the window to the soul. So learning how to navigate frequency, and there's so many aspects to that, I gonna dive into, you know what I mean, in
Mhm.
relationships and so forth, how our decisions and how we prioritize, where we make our decisions from, how we learn from everything, how we observe ourselves, and
Right.
how it all comes down to our frequency that we emit at any time, any given time. So when we start to prioritize that and make that, the most important thing in our lives, then anything we put our mind to or put our hands on, that would be imbued with that frequency, right? So then
Mhm.
that is the elimination, like when we make that a priority, then it's not focused so much on the logical or the linear mind deciding based on the past what we should be doing next, right? It's more of a being fully present all the time, being a bright light, shine your brightest, and share that with anyone, and there's a whole way of navigating that. Is like, we're not there to make people do anything or fix anyone. We can only be example. We can only, assist as much as people are open to be assisted. And there's a grace in that, you know what I mean? So they're going to be tapping into that as well, like how to share, and how to be okay with people not ready, because a lot of times we have to allow people to step away and maybe leave entirely, or, that's that journey, that's their soul's journey, like, so we
Right.
just have to be, focusing on our, you know,
Yeah. Some
present.
people aren't ready for what where we're at. We're at different places, but then they may come back in. They go, "Oh, now I understand what you were talking about. It freaked me out before, but but now I understand." And sometimes they just don't ever come back, and they're like, "Eh,"
And that's okay, there's no right and wrong.
because
It's
we're
like,
all on our own journey, right?
exactly.
Exactly.
And then also seeing that they are part of us as well is another aspect of us having a
Yeah,
different experience. You know what I mean?
And so now,
exactly.
Peter, do you have a website where people could visit and learn a little bit more about you? Do you have any upcoming courses that you'd like to share about?
Absolutely. I have a website called channelingartsangel.com, and I have a lot of information about my products and also about workshops that's already been recorded that you can then download or access. And then there's a lot of interviews on there. I don't have all of them on there, but I have a lot of them I feel like is relevant, that's for free. You could just listen, a lot of different subjects. There's how to contact me and so forth, an upcoming event as well. And the next one coming up is the conference,
Right.
the upcoming one. But every month I have something coming up, and throughout the month, there's a lot of people I'm co-creating with around the world that we just have an organic relationship, is that we kind of like connect when we feel like it's time every couple of months, you know what I mean? So then we do a podcast, or we do, you know what I mean? Like, solstices, this, that, you know what I mean? It's like, it's wonderful, and done a lot of work with Lauren Gailey, and what is it called, NEO, network,
New Earth
anyway.
One?
Yes, thank you. I was like blank there for a second. New Earth One. So done a lot of stuff with her and Nancy. I love the way we work together as well, like just reaching a lot of people, and just bringing in to the container, into the field, what's coming through myself and you guys, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
meeting this way too, and we're talking this way, and we're sharing, that it magnifies the message as well, you know what I mean? Because we all add to it, right? So we synchronize together, even though we have individual voices, but we still, there's a lot of things that resonates between us that just is our truth, right? So then there's no resistance in that, and that just sends out an even stronger vibration and field.
Right.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I am super excited to have you on tonight. I really appreciate it. It's going to even be more fun now to have the event on the 25th with you, having had this opportunity. And Shanna, do you want to tell one more time where people can sign up?
Yes, you guys can do it one of two ways. You can go to universalconsciousnessconference.com and purchase your ticket. It's only $55. It gets you for the entire day, and you get a recording of it. So if you can't watch all of it, if you can't be there for all of it, you'll have the recording that'll be sent to you. So that'll be available. You can also go to mygypsysoulfair.com. You can purchase a ticket there, and you can see all the other stuff that I have going, the women's retreats, the fairs, the conference, all of that kind of stuff there too. So either website, they both have all the speakers on them and everything. You can check out what everybody's doing, what they're talking about, what time everyone's going to be on, so you can kind of plan your day as well. So yeah, check it out. I'm excited about it. And it's
Yeah,
from
I'm
9 o'clock in the morning till we're going to do it from 9 till 6. We're hoping that people will stay with us for about an hour from 5 to 6 so that we can have a panel of like yourself and Peter. And if people wanted to ask questions they maybe didn't think of until later on, that
And
they're going
what
to have
time
a
zone is
chance.
that? You want to share the time zone?
Yes, it's central. Yeah. 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central. So if you're in another time zone, do the math. I'm not really good at it. So
Awesome. Well,
All
thank
right.
you both for being here. Shanna, thank you for agreeing to be my host throughout the entire month. I think it's going to be absolutely awesome. It's going to be
Yeah.
super fun. Peter, again, thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you, and I look forward to seeing you at the end of the month as well.
Likewise, thank you.
Yeah.
And I
Thank
want
you
to
so
thank
much for
everyone.
having me on with
Of
you.
course, absolutely. And I also want to thank all of our viewers for watching. I thank you so much, especially for all the text and the emails that I've been receiving. You're very, very kind, and I really appreciate all your comments and all your great ideas for future speakers. So I'm writing it all down. I appreciate it so much. So, everyone, until we're back together again, you've been watching us on the Conscious Awakening Network at Cosmic Conversations. Join us every Monday and Thursdays, and we will look forward to seeing you again. Namaste and much love, everyone.